Drops Charlottesville bombshell. There is a deep divide regarding the violence at Charlottesville, Virginia. The political left, the mainstream media, and the majority of U.S. politicians believe in a one-sided narrative in which there were, quote, peaceful left-leaning counter-protesters being attacked. Meanwhile, President Trump, the new media, and much of the Republican base acknowledge the violence committed by both sides, including the radical left-wing group Antifa. However, members of Congress are beginning to challenge the media's established narrative. As Breitbart reports, Representative Louis Gohmert, Republican of Texas, is now calling for a Department of Justice investigation into Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and Charlottesville Mayor Michael Steiner for their role in facilitating violence. Gohmert appeared on Fox News' channel's Fox and Friends Weekend, dealing a critical judgment on the local government's handling of the demonstrations at Charlottesville. The Texas congressman also criticized GOP leaders, particularly Paul Ryan, for seemingly sabotaging President Trump's agenda. Gohmert notes that McAuliffe and Steiner share in the blame for the 3 deaths and 19 injured at Charlottesville. He says the city and police department's actions enabled violence by putting 2 armed, virulent groups with hatred for one another directly in each other's path. Absolutely. Gohmert suspects the situation was premeditated, bringing to mind the Project Veritas reported the Democratic Party agitators who attended Trump rallies with the intentions of inciting violence, which they could use to discredit the then Republican presidential candidate. Absolutely. Thanks to Project Veritas for that. Because of the uncertain circumstances leading up to the deaths of one left-leaning protester and 2 police officers, Gohmert argues an investigation by the Department of Justice is warranted. The way forward's not going to be easy, Gohmert said, and I think the Justice Department needs a full investigation of the governor, of the mayor. They said in court there would be violence at Charlottesville, and then the witnesses and the photographs show they herded these groups to create violence so they could brag. Congressman Gohmert also calls for a DOJ investigation into Jason Kessler, the white, quote, supremacist organizer of Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. Kessler has been the subject of immense suspicion due to previously being a fervent left-wing Obama supporter, as reported by Christian News Alerts. Gohmert added his voice to those accusing Kessler of being a plant who purposely orchestrated the Charlottesville tragedy in order to damage the reputation of the political right. You don't just go all of a sudden from having multiracial roommates and a Jewish girlfriend to all of a sudden being a white supremacist that wants to join the Republican Party. There's something very, very wrong in all of this, he said. Representative Louis Gohmert, a Republican of Texas, is now calling for a Department of Justice investigation into Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and Charlottesville Mayor Michael Steiner for their role in facilitating violence. Should Department of Justice investigate? Absolutely. The popular Texas lawmaker concluded that Democrats, specifically McAuliffe and Steiner, are ultimately responsible for having facilitated the violence. Like they were the violence at Trump events, they may have been behind this violence getting started. They facilitated it anyway, Gohmert said. Absolutely. They told the officers to stand down. Not only did they put them all in one group, they told the officers to stand down. And then they set up this guy, right, to play like he was a right-winger. Gomert's position is in stark contrast to the views expressed by the most prominent members of the Republican leadership, as the Atlantic reports. Paul Ryan criticized President Trump for saying that both sides share the blame. Ryan looked past the actions of Antifa, claiming there are no sides, there is no other argument. John McCain also took issue with Trump's statements, as posted on Twitter. Nevertheless, a poll shows that the majority of Republicans agree with Trump's response to Charlottesville, as covered by Newsweek. One thing is certain: the Republican Party is now sharply divided along ideological lines. And it's not ideological lines. Follow the money. Follow the money. It's not ideological lines. They put the idiots to start fighting with each other, and they're making a killing from George Soros. You get it? The Republican Party, it's no ideological lines. You get where I'm going, folks? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And this was a total setup. The guy was a Democrat, and they posed him as if he was a Republican, the guy that did the crime.